G'day, wrestling mates. Welcome to a very, very special episode of If You See Kayfabe. I'm your wrestling mate from down under, Southern Joe, and you notice we're in the split screen. That means, yep, we've got an interview today, and it's an interview with Alpha Pro's very own Matty Wild. Welcome to the show, Matty.
Thanks for having me, Joe. It's an absolute pleasure. Yeah, I really appreciate you bringing me on.
Not a problem. Now, you're a magician and a wrestler.
Yeah, it's an interesting combo, isn't it?
Yeah, especially because I'll get into something that I saw you do in your last match where you became the number one contender for a match I'll talk about afterwards. But you do magic full time
Mm-hmm.
and you do wrestling part time. So which sort of takes precedent?
Well, I would definitely say magic, mostly because that's how I provide my income and take care of my family.
Mm-hmm.
But look, honestly, I really enjoy both of them as much as each other in different ways. So magic I've been doing now for almost 15 years. And out of those 15 years, I would say almost a decade of which has been my sole source of income. And wrestling I've been doing now probably for about 6 or 7 years, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at magic as my work performance, and I look at wrestling as my fun performance. That's how I, let loose and enjoy myself as a performer, because I've always been a bloody show off ever since I was a kid, and I do think all people who get up on stage on a regular basis are inherently just a bunch of show offs.
Yeah, well, I saw that from some of your reels.
Yeah, yeah.
I watched a couple of your reels, and you're sort of very outward and really out there, which is good.
Extrovert.
I love some of the street magic that you did in the cluckers.
Yeah.
As we discussed at your merch table, I enjoy close-up magic over the years because, I mean, when I was younger, I was more thrilled by stage magic. Oh, how do they do that? How do they make the people disappear? Um, but so obviously, then the magic came first.
Yeah, yeah, that was
And who
the
trained you to
early
be a
days.
wrestler? How did the wrestling come about?
Well, I was always interested in wrestling in terms of watching it as a part of my childhood. I would say I started watching wrestling maybe when I was around about 8 or 9. Actually, maybe a little bit younger. Yeah, probably about 8. I would say would be the most accurate. I watched the Fed, watched old WWE tapes and stuff like that back when it was WWF. And I think that I got a lot out of that because it felt like it was just this really big and bold performance art, and I was always interested in that sort of thing ever since I was really young. I loved stand-up comedy, and I loved all different kinds of the arts, magic as well, even though I only sort of really came across it when I was a little bit older. But drama, theatre productions, that sort of thing, that was always a passion of mine. And I came across wrestling, and then I very quickly found it to be engaging. And my parents were pretty strict with what I was and wasn't allowed to watch. So I was only allowed to watch wrestling DVDs or videos that I could find that were PG rated. I wasn't allowed to watch anything that was M or above, because they saw that as like, okay, well, hang on, that's probably not suitable for a 9 or a 10-year-old.
Yeah, that's fair
So
enough.
yeah, yeah. So
As a
I
parent, I've
used to.
been down that road.
Yeah, no, that I feel like you get it. That's the thing that I had to deal with now. In the future, if I choose to have kids, what are they allowed to watch? What are they not allowed to watch? But that was my situation, and so I found quite a lot of the older wrestling DVDs and videos were more so suited towards younger generations, as opposed to what it was when I was growing up, which was more so like the more bloody and violent side of wrestling, which I now enjoy as well. The first experience of wrestling I remember watching was, I got a DVD from the local library about The Undertaker. I think it was the He Buries Them Alive
Okay.
DVD release. And that one had a lot of his classic casket matches, and it had a doco about him. And it was predominantly focused on his early to mid 90s run before he became, Biker Taker or anything like that. So he was the first one that I watched, and I really enjoyed watching his matches because I just thought he was just so big and imposing and a really great
Yeah.
character. And then from there, I found more modern wrestling, and I fell in love with people like Jeff Hardy and Edge, Triple H, those sorts of guys. And then, I started to learn more about the industry as we went on, and it was great fun.
Yeah. I should probably get you to get a bit close to the microphone because you're just a touch soft,
That's okay.
which is unusual compared to how I see you at the pipework markets.
Yeah, I'll try and see if I can boost that up.
Yeah,
Just
but one thing I did see, because with the Alpha Pro at Pipework Markets, 5 or 6 Dunstan Court in
yep,
Thomastown, I did see that you guys were more family friendly and being very
yes,
engaging with the crowd.
yeah,
Um,
definitely, yeah.
and it actually added more of a realism because one thing I'm opposed to these days is you can bludgeon someone half to death and they kick out of a 3 count. Whereas
Oh
once
yeah,
upon a time, finishes were protected.
oh yeah.
Yeah, a finish to the match. I mean,
I agree
um,
with that.
I go back even a lot further than you because I used to watch the old World Championship Wrestling here in Australia in the 70s because I'm 60 years old, and I remember when they were featuring Harley Race before he came out to
hmm
Australia, and they showed him winning his second world title. He finished off with a suplex.
Yeah, yeah. The industry's evolved so much, and I really think that there's a place for the more sort of classic grounded style wrestling, and I do think that there's definitely a place for more of a high flying style. That's why I sort of try and incorporate both. But in terms of your first point, which is finishes not being protected, and too much craziness happening to not lead to finishes, I definitely think that that is absolutely overused, and I think that there is a place for it in wrestling. But in terms of what we're putting out with Alpha Pro Wrestling at the Pipeworks Market, the guys who are running the show there, I think that they're really in tune with what a modern audience wants. And I definitely think that in terms of wrestlers in the back, we need to be more focused on catering to the audience that's in our crowd at the shows, and not the audience that maybe necessarily we would want to do these 5-star crazy matches to. Like, we don't need to do that on every show in every match. We need to focus on playing to our strengths, and our strengths is the crowd that we have there right now in front of us. And I think that you need to have a build up of story to justify doing those sorts of things in the ring. I think that that is important for storytelling in general, not just in wrestling. If I do a magic show, I wouldn't just jump to my best trick first off the bat. You got to build it. You got to make it important and tell
Yeah,
people a story that makes sense. And I think that if you're in a wrestling ring and you're trying to have the best match possible, that does not always mean do 50 different moves and kick out of every single one of them, even like all these big crazy stunts. You don't need to
yeah,
do all that to make it mean something. You need to build it up effectively so that when you do that one big thing, it means something. That's how I look at it.
yeah. Well, because I've actually said in a previous episode, what I heard someone say that if everything is special, nothing is special.
Yep, couldn't agree more.
Nothing is special. Now, when you're a magician, you go by LJ,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then for wrestling, you go by Matty Wild.
Yep.
Why the difference?
Well, I was already going by LJ as my magic moniker, I suppose. It's just my initials for my shoot name. With Matty Wild, my father-in-law's name is Matthew Wild, and I just really liked how it rolled off the tongue, Matty Wild, like, because we call him Matty, and I just thought it just sounded like a fun, cool
It's a
wrestling
good
name.
gimmick name.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad.
It
Look, I
does
mean,
work.
like I definitely think that there's probably better out there, but I thought it was important to me for a few different reasons, and one of them
Well,
is
it's a homage to your
connection.
father-in-law. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Because I actually, before I did my own show, I was doing this startup British show
Hmm.
that I discovered on Facebook. I did an interview with this guy in Queensland. He was just called CJ.
Ah, yep.
He's with Wide Bay Pro Wrestling, but
Hmm.
he wrestled in England. They called him Hedge for some reason.
Okay.
So
Is that like Edge's lesser known brother?
no, it was Hedge, Hench. Hedge. So I don't know. It was some sort of. He explained it to me, but I couldn't quite follow what he was getting at with that.
Hmm.
But it's just funny. CJ now an LJ, but you're a Matty Wild.
Hmm. Yeah, well, yeah, I wanted there to be some sort of distinction between the two because I wanted it to be like, okay, here's my magic work and here's my wrestling work. I wanted to have that little bit of a difference so that people could, you know, yeah, see all the different sides of me. And then I've got my personal stuff as well that I work on with, family and friends and all that. So yeah, I guess you could say that's like the three faces of Liam. But yeah, I don't know. I like all three of them equally, I think.
Okay, Mr. Foley. So do you wrestle anywhere else other than Alpha Pro?
At the moment, it is pretty much exclusively Alpha Pro. Unfortunately, it's mostly just due to my schedule. So I've wrestled for a lot of different companies all around Victoria and a couple interstate, but mostly that was throughout the earlier parts of my career. Since COVID has eased back a lot with its lockdowns and restrictions and stuff like that, it's allowed me to do a lot more magic work than I wasn't doing previously.
Hmm.
So that has helped me be able to provide more for my family and for myself, which has been really great. But unfortunately, it's meant that I haven't been able to do a lot of the Friday night and Saturday night wrestling shows, which is predominantly when they're on. So
Hmm.
yeah, for me, Alpha Pro Wrestling having a daytime energy show, they want me to be on the night shows, and I have a couple of other companies who I used to work with or who I haven't worked with before who really want me for other projects and other night shows, but I'm just not available. Unfortunately it comes down to a finance thing because I can't justify giving up multiple $100s worth of magic work that I've worked really hard to secure
Hmm.
to do a wrestling show that won't pay that much. And it's not so much because I wouldn't like to be doing it. Believe me, I really would like to be doing the wrestling shows, but it's just cost benefit. I can't justify it, considering I'm the one who has to provide for my family and stuff.
Yeah. So if say World Series Wrestling came in with a good offer for something of a one-off, would you take that over a Magic gig?
It depends. I look at it all by case basis. If someone came to me and said, "Hey, we want to do a really great story with you, and we want to build this up, and we're able to pay you X amount of dollars and stuff like that," and then I'm able to sell merch and stuff as well, I'd absolutely look at that. Yeah, and I judge everything by a case basis, But yeah, at the moment, unfortunately, it's not something that is possible. I have had multiple offers to wrestle at other promotions over the last 12 to 18 months, but it's just looking like at this point in time that it's going to be really, really hard to make both work in terms of current wrestling shows schedules. But
Hmm.
I am doing another show coming up next Monday, the 4th of November, in, I believe it's Shepparton, for
Oh,
Australian Outlaw Wrestling. So I am going to be making an appearance for a different company
Outback
next week,
Championship Wrestling, or
Australian Outlaw Wrestling.
oh, okay, that's a new one, is it?
Yeah, no, so they've been around for a little while, and I've done a couple of matches for them in the past, and they're a lot of fun. Yeah, that one is going to be, I believe it's a cross show with music and also wrestling matches as well. And a few of the people on that show I've wrestled with in the past, and I've worked with many times in training in various different training places over the years.
Is that something put together by Oceana Pro Wrestling?
No, no, it's a separate perform. It's a
Separate,
separate,
okay.
separate booker and separate organization.
Who would be some of the biggest people that you've worked with?
In terms of name value,
Hmm.
or just big.
Well, I saw two massive guys at your last thing.
Yeah,
Oh, you didn't go to the nighttime show. As two, but
there's some
have
big
name value.
guys. Yeah. Oh well, look. I think I'm just trying to think. probably there's a few big names that I've been able to work with in the past. People like Mad Dog and Crackerjack come to mind, and then also Crackerjack's younger brother Gore. I've had matches in NAW back in the years past with all of the classic guys who used to rule the roost down there, like Kane Morozov and all those sorts of other guys. And I've also been a part of a few matches with George Julio, who was one of the people who helped train me in my early years.
Okay.
But yeah, so nobody that's earth shattering, no international,
No
uh,
international stuff yet.
yeah, megastars yet. But I do emphasise the word "yet" on that one
Yeah, yeah,
specifically.
that's it. And is Gore the one who used to be Logan?
I don't think he's ever gone by another name. It was pretty much always just Gore, from what I
Because
understand.
Crackerjack's younger brother, and they never really. It was his legit younger brother, but they
Maybe he's
never
got two
actually.
brothers. I'm not sure. I know that
Oh,
he,
okay, he must
yeah,
have two brothers because he had one that
maybe.
was named Logan, who was
Okay.
sort of a similar build to him, but more clean shaven and not as outlandish as Crackers.
Yeah, no. So Gore is you've seen Gore at shows before, surely? No.
No,
Okay, so
I've got
Gore
a
is
bit of
the
a gap. I've got a
hmm,
bit of a gap between end of 2007 when I was watching PWA
yep,
up until probably a couple of years ago when I started watching a bit more of the local stuff and getting
yeah.
into your stuff there at Alpha Pro
hmm
and going to Starcast.
There you go. Yeah, there's a few good ones out there these days. But I'll tell you what, the Australian wrestling scene is absolutely thriving these days. You see how
True.
many people are getting recognised internationally in All Elite Wrestling and even New Japan and WWE or NXT, all those fantastic platforms that people are
Yeah.
getting exposure on. It's really great, and TNA as well. But yeah, so Gore is he's really, really big, muscly guy. He's trained in a whole bunch of different mixed martial arts and boxing and all those sorts of things. And he's Cracker Jack's younger brother, I believe. And
Yeah.
yeah, I've had some meetings with both of those guys in the past, and it's very bittersweet memories. Some good stuff, some bad stuff, but I look back on it fondly.
Mm. Have you had any injuries to contend with?
Yeah. So on that topic of Gore and Crackerjack, there was one point where the first meeting that we had at the end of the match, they beat me down and stapled a Joker playing card to my forehead. That was one that happened. I also, in a later match with those guys, got a concussion off a really nasty power bomb.
Oh.
And I've had a few smaller bits and pieces. Like I've bruised my heel, the bone in my heel of one of my feet at one point, and I've had a few little bits and pieces here and there, but no breaks. And no major injuries, and yeah, that
Mm.
concussion was apparently a mild to moderate one. It wasn't too bad. So yeah, nothing too crazy yet in the injury list, and I hope that one stays that way.
Yeah, it'd be good. It'd be good because I mean, one thing I've wondered about with wrestlers is, do you like a footballer or a tennis player or a golfer? Do you guys still get together and do drills and train on how to do a power bomb properly, how to do a slam properly,
Yeah,
how to run the
absolutely.
ropes?
Oh yeah, it's very very important in my eyes for anyone coming up in the industry to do training in the industry, because look, just like any profession, no workplace that's respectable would put you into a job without training you how to do it properly first. Now, every
Hmm.
trainer in wrestling, whether it be places like Adrenaline, people like Alpha, PCW, VPW, Mayhem, Relentless, all those sorts of guys. All of these places that will train you how to be a wrestler have a slightly different way of teaching it. But there is one common factor that comes across every trainer that is respectable, and that is two things: you protect yourself and your
Mhm.
opponent. That is the main goal. You do not want to go out there with any intention to hurt anybody, and you do not want to get hurt yourself, because obviously we want to try and keep each other as safe as possible. We are, entertainers. We are not out there in a UFC, ring. So that's why I think that, with you know all these fantastic wrestling schools that you can go to around Victoria and outside of the state, you've got to make sure that it's right for you, because some people teach one way, some people teach another way. And I think that one thing that wrestlers in Victoria especially need to do more is go and train at multiple different schools for extended periods, so that you really get an idea as to how to work in ring with many different people and trained by many different people, so that you can take the best bits from all of them, not the best and the worst from just one, because then you won't be
And
able to tell the difference.
like in America, I'd imagine too that the ring setups would be different too, like
Yep.
different bits of give. Because back in the day, they used to say that the WWF rings were solid concrete, like
Yeah.
concrete, because of the big guys that would work there.
Mm.
Whereas you can always hear it if you watch any old WCW tapes or even NWA. There's more give on them, so
Mm.
that would come into as a factor as well.
Absolutely. There's a few different types of rings. So the two most common ones are a spring ring, which the spring is typically in the center of the ring, and sometimes they have multiple springs across the ring, and then there's metal bars that go across it, and then wooden boards, and then a thin layer of padding, and then the canvas, obviously. The other type of ring is a little bit different. It's more of like I think it's called a flexi steel ring. So the flexi steel is metal bars that will flex a bit, but there's no
Mm-hmm.
spring under the ring, that like a central spring. It's more so just crossed bars over the ring, and then the same thing: wooden boards, thin layer of padding, and canvas on top. And then you strap all the corners, the four corner posts together, so that it all holds it together and in place. But yeah, either ring is mostly fine. I've only had a couple of rough experiences in a couple of rings, but I do also think it does definitely come down to bumping correctly. In the ring, you've got to make sure that you're hitting the mat the right way, and sometimes you're in control of that, sometimes you're not. But for the most part, yeah, if you hit the ring incorrectly and you're not doing the right things, then you're going to get hurt. So if someone slams you wrong, but you still do all the right things, you're definitely going to have much less of a chance of getting winded or getting hurt.
Mm.
But yeah, I think the most common rings you'll see these days are mostly flexi steel rings with the bars. The spring rings are a little bit harder to nail that just right bump, unless you're in the middle. In the middle, it's pretty solid, but on the sides, it's not fun. Yeah, there's maybe a couple of others, but the other thing that fluctuates quite a lot is the sizes of the ring. So the alpha
Yeah,
one that I'm in most frequently is probably around about 16 feet, I think. But
it
there's
does
quite a
look a
lot.
bit smaller.
It is a little bit smaller. I think that there's a couple of other ones in Australia that are sort of similar size. I think there's maybe one or two that are sort of close towards 19, 20 feet. I know that most of the rings for WWE, I think they're all pretty much 20 footers, so they're quite big.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'd be very keen to actually go into one of those larger rings and see what it's like, because predominantly I've only really wrestled in sort of smaller ones, like 16, 17, maybe 18 at one point. But yeah, it's fascinating.
I have seen a 14. I have seen a 14 foot one for
It's
like
horrible.
bars. Yeah, for bars and that, and it's
Yeah, yeah,
almost
yeah.
like, well, if they used bigger ones in shopping centres back in the day.
Yeah, you can barely even do a bloody suplex in there. Otherwise, you're going to hit the ropes when you're bringing your mate down.
Well, that's it. That's it. It's just very. Just back on the thing about protection and making
Mhm.
sure that you're protected, your opponent's
Mhm.
protected. No names, no pack drill. But have you come across anyone who had a reputation either on purpose or accidentally for being reckless and not being careful?
I would say no. I have not. I haven't come across anyone who was going out there intentionally trying to hurt anyone. I've had a few people either that I've come across in locker rooms or that I've actually been in the ring with who maybe needed a bit more training, whether it be for just certain moves or whether it be for being in the ring in general and that sort of thing. I do think, unfortunately, in the Victorian and Australian scene, we want to try and keep our wrestlers engaged from the start. And if you train someone for way too long, it can lead to them being disinterested and not wanting to keep on going. But I do think that everyone is different. Everyone learns at a different rate. I had my first match, maybe I think it was like 9 months in, but I'm quite a quick learner, so I get the hang of things quite quickly, and I understood the fundamentals of performing before going out and learning the wrestling technique. So putting both of those together was a lot easier for me. But I do think that there is a lot of people who come into the industry and they think, oh, no worries, in 6 months I'll have my first match. It doesn't work like that. Everyone learns at a different pace, and I think we need to understand that. My cat's just over here. Sorry, we need to
You're right.
understand that.
I get Clyde watch every now and then. We've got a white cat that sometimes wanders along, and you'll hear his bell because he's got a bell there, so it scares away the birds. You can't attack it.
Yeah, my cats chirp at the birds all day, trying to get them to come over, but they don't get out and about very much. But in terms of safety of in-ring performers in Victoria, predominantly, which is where I've mostly wrestled, there are very, very safe workers all around the state. I do think that there's quality issues in terms of the in-ring work, but never dangerous. Never like, oh, this person's going to hurt me. It's just maybe moves can look better and matches can look better and be planned better. But I think that that's something that just comes with time, and I think you need to make sure. As bookers out there, if any bookers are listening to me, I'm just some worker. But have a listen to this. Put people who are inexperienced with people who are experienced. Vet the quality of the wrestlers that you put on shows. Make sure that they are going to do the right things both in the back and out there in the ring. And make sure that when you're putting on matches, you're putting people with each other who will have a quality match, and don't just book your mates. I think that that's something that happens quite a lot in Victoria especially. But I don't think anyone's unsafe. I just think
it's something that they're accused All Elite of, saying it's all friends wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that that's an unfair criticism for the most part from the early days and potentially even now. But, that is a, global professional company. We are talking about a very different category here in terms of our wrestlers, in Australia and on the much more independent shows. But I think that that's something that needs to be said. I don't dislike anyone. I don't, I'm not best mates with anyone in the industry. I try and keep wrestling as more of a workplace as opposed to, I'm here to make friends and, and make money kind of thing. Like neither of those things are really something that I'm super focused on. I'm going out there to perform and to perform for a crowd who enjoys watching the performance. So I think we should be putting out the best product we possibly can, and I think it's important to be honest with each other and honest with our audience as well. As entertainers and also as people who connect with each other in a workplace. We need to treat it like such. We need to be professional. We need to make sure that we're doing the right things by each other and by our fans.
I was surprised because I wasn't expecting a lot, especially once I saw the pipework set up and realised, okay, it's not like even one of the bigger independents. But when I saw the work, you guys, most of you are pretty safe. Everything was flat backs. Everything was, most stuff connected.
Mm-hmm.
But because the last show, I caught half of the afternoon show. And then I went to the night show, which I hadn't been to before, and I went along with my second oldest son, and he doesn't know what to look for. He doesn't know what to look for, but I sort of do, having watched wrestling for over 5 decades.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're listening to podcasts and you listen to this and that, some of them will give you a sneak peek behind the curtain as to what to watch out for.
Absolutely.
And so. Actually, in that way, it mixes in with magic as well, because in the 90s when when wrestling the curtain was drawn back and said, yes, it's all a work,
Mm-hmm.
there was a guy called Valentino
I know the name.
who was a masked magician, and
Yes.
he was giving away all the magic secrets.
Yep.
But the way when he did, because he was ostracized for it,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
and
People
and
threatened to kill him.
but his explanation I thought was very very good in that he said, well, I got people talking about magic again, but when
Yeah.
I look at those tricks, that would still need a hell of a lot of training. It's not
Oh
like you
yeah.
can say, yeah. I mean, even when you pull out a cane out of nowhere to thump your opponent, that's something that I don't think I could do even in my dreams.
Well, everything in life requires a little bit of practice. You know, running a podcast is something that I don't have much experience with, so I would defer to your greater knowledge on that one. Yeah, I think all of us have different skills that we, use in our everyday life that maybe someone, who you would think, oh, surely they'd know how to do that. Maybe they don't, you know. In my case, for magic and wrestling, I think Joe, you'd be absolutely staggered at how much similarities there are between the two industries. They are both very secretive industries that once you're in, it's very easy to get the access to the knowledge. But when you're out, it's quite hard to gain the access to the knowledge. There's quite a lot of people who train magicians and teach magic, and there's quite a lot of people who train wrestlers and teach wrestling. But it is very hard to find them unless you know where to look or you know the right people. And in terms of performing opportunities, I would bet that there's a lot of people out there who wouldn't know that there are magic shows happening in Australia and in Victoria every single week, sometimes more than once a week. And I think that people would be surprised to hear, maybe if they watch wrestling when they were a kid, the WWE, oh, they're the only wrestling company in the world. No. That's not true. There's about 20 or 30 here in Victoria, and there's
Yeah.
multiple shows happening every single week. So I think people would be surprised to hear how many similarities there are between the two industries and how difficult it is to imagine all of that unless you're involved, like yourself or like myself. It's really fascinating, the secrets of the industry side of things as well, and how exposing those, publicly can get you, hate and vitriol or even potentially praise, either way or the other. It's interesting. It's really fascinating. I'd love to talk about it more, in an episode dedicated to that side of things, but we'll
Oh
save that
yeah,
for another time.
because I crossed over from the kayfabe era to the
Mhm.
exposed era,
Yep.
and I mean, when someone convinced me that the wrestling's a work, I accepted it only up until championship level.
Hmm.
I said, "Oh, okay, maybe these are predetermined, but once you contend for a title, that's a shoot."
Right.
That was my first sort of to give into it because in my day it was so protected. If
Oh yeah.
anyone, if I mean, all you had to do was look at. Have you ever seen the film clip of John Stossel copying it from David Schultz?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. It's
that's,
intense. Yeah.
that's one of the most funniest things.
Yeah. Oh, it's pretty severe.
And actually, speaking of title matches, you've got one coming up too
I know. It's exciting.
against,
Well.
against Kevin Owens' stunt double.
Yeah, Pete Morgan is a hell of a champion. He's a very tough guy, and he's been eluding me for quite a little while, hasn't he?
Mm.
Well, so I got a win over him many months ago before he won the championship. I won a singles match clean as a whistle against him. And he went on to contend for a championship. I went on to contend for a championship, and unfortunately, it didn't end up panning out for me, but it did for him. So, congrats to him, I guess. We then ended up having a triple threat match on the not the last show, but the previous one with Daniel Cole as well. And Pete, as much as I hate to say it, he won. I think it was unfairly, but it was technically no disqualification under triple threat rules. So, look, what can you do? I said to myself, I'm going to keep on going towards being a champion here at Alpha Pro Wrestling. I've been working towards it for, over half a decade now. And I won the match last month. It was I think it was a 6-person match or a 5-person match.
Yes, 5
Yeah.
people in the match, yeah.
Yeah, it was nuts.
And then Pete tried to attack you afterwards.
Yeah, it was really rewarding to be able to overcome all of the challenges that those other 4 people posed to me. And then coming out at the end, I saw Pete Morgan was attacking John Stop Action, and I thought that's not right. You guys have just had a hard fought match. Pete's come out on top. So why would you be attacking your opponent? You should be going, hey, good fight. But yeah, that was what he was doing. So I just thought, no, that's not right. I went out and I said to him, stop, this is not on. And I made it very clear to him and all of the other people who were out there watching the show and in the back that it's my time to represent Alpha Pro Wrestling and represent this company with, my best foot forward. And I think that Pete Morgan, unfortunately, seems to be doing a lot of the things that, he should be doing wrong. So that's what I aim to do in the match that I have with him at the next show, which I believe is on November 9th, Saturday, November 9th.
Yes, that's it.
And I'd also like to announce on this podcast that I'm going to be challenging Pete to a very specific kind of match. I want to go into his wheelhouse a little bit and, make it a fair fight, because I don't want him to have any opportunity to cheat. I don't want there to be any opportunity of us getting counted out. I don't even want us to submit or have a pinfall as the defining, feature of this match. I have been going through all of these different challenges over my career, and I've been breaking through ceilings, trying to, present myself as someone who is truly unique and one of a kind. And that is why I want to challenge Pete to try and break me through a table. We're going to have a tables match. Yeah, if he accepts, I would like to challenge Pete Morgan to a tables match, because I think that is the right way to finish this off. We've had a singles match. We've had a triple threat match. Let's make something of this. Let's make it a big final fight, because if I lose this match, I'm not going to challenge him again for the Alpha Pro Cup, for the Energy Division. If I don't win this, I'm not going to challenge him for his entire rest of his reign. And if I win, I don't want him to think that he's got an instant rematch or anything like that, because I've already beat him once before. If we go out in singles, I don't want anyone coming out there interfering. I don't want him to have any special advantage from being the champion. I don't want to have any special advantage from being the challenger. I want to have this be a climactic end to this story that we've had and this fight that we will have on November 9th. So that's why I am challenging him to a tables match. So let's see.
Can we make that official, or do you have to wait to hear what?
We got to wait until he says yes or no. But I have a feeling, if I know Pete Morgan, and I think I know him a little bit better than most, I think that is going to be something that he just can't pass up. So we'll see.
You reckon he'll be up for it?
I think so. And if he's a if he's a man of some sort of honor, and I think that at times he can be, I think he'll accept the challenge. But don't worry, you'll see me putting a message similar like this out on social media as well, challenging him via video as well. But people can see it here first.
Oh, well, an exclusive. The other month, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I interviewed Harley Race's only son, and I thought that was big. Wow. But look at this. Look at this. Big announcement, exclusive. I get an exclusive. That's an honour. That's an honour. That's fantastic. Oh, thank you for that. And that's got to go into the description to make sure you watch that. And it will be a good match. I mean, folks, it's not the WWE. You're not going to see pyro. You're not going to see this. Yeah, but you're going to see good, solid wrestling. That's why I've gone to them. That's why, I mean, they don't know me from anything there in our Alpha Pro Wrestling. It's just that if I like something, I go over my way to say, yeah, this is good. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed myself. Even my second oldest, who's not big into wrestling, he enjoyed the night. Especially when those 2 big dudes came out and just went, jeepers, look at the size of these guys.
Yeah.
And you and Pete Morgan will put on a good show because you're both of similar size. it's almost good enough for main event on the night show. But as
We
you
aim
say,
to
with your
please.
magic,
We aim to
yeah,
please.
yeah, good on you, Clyde. Yeah, we got Clyde watch happening before.
I've been seeing him coming back and forth.
He rules the roost.
That's it.
Yeah, so that and you obviously got your own merch as well, but that's
Yep.
more to do with your magic side of things.
No. I do have a bunch of merch for the wrestling side of things as well. I've got T-shirts in all sizes, and I've got beautiful mugs as well for coffee, tea, all that sort of stuff. And I've got stickers and signed playing cards and magic tricks galore. But yeah, come and see me at one of the Alpha shows. Say hello, take a photo, and grab a piece of merch to support your favorite wrestling magician.
Yeah. Now, back to sort of peeking behind the curtain in a way. Have you ever wrestled heel?
Yeah, I think so. I've predominantly been a babyface for most of my career. There was a period of time before the pandemic started in 2020 that I was starting to make my way towards being a bit more of like, I don't really like this phrase, but like a tweener, and then starting to go heel because at that point I was a bit more experienced than a lot of the other guys who were in the promotion that I was working at mostly, which was APW, Adrenaline Pro Wrestling. And what they wanted to do was because I was running this great thing called the Escape Artist Open Challenge. And they wanted me to, keep working on that and then have someone beat me. And then I sort of lose it a little bit and start going after the people who are coming up into the industry and then be more of an in-ring general, I suppose, for the people who were training and then having their first matches. So one thing that they trusted me to do as with the Escape Artist Open Challenge was help people who were coming into the industry as heels. But then in the future, it was a plan to hopefully get me to be the heel that then baby faces who are coming up into the industry could work with and then be safe with. So yeah, I have had a little bit of experience with that side of things, but predominantly I've been more of a baby face.
Yeah, because I still go back to when you went at Pete Morgan. You produced the magic wand just like that out of nothing.
Yep.
Can that magic wand resheath itself out of nothing and go back to being nothing?
Depends on which prop I bring out, but that one that you saw me pull out was one of the ones that stays pretty solid after I bring it out. Yeah,
because if you can make it disappear, it's a classic. It's an absolute unique heel move. Because the ref, you've jabbed him. He says, "Oh, the good guy says, oh, I've been jabbed," and the referee looks at you. No, what are you talking about?
No, I've done a few things like that. A bit Eddie Guerrero-esque. He's another hero of mine with how he carried himself in the ring and his antics and stuff like that. I absolutely adored Eddie Guerrero's cheekiness, and I think that comes out sometimes when I'm doing my matches.
Who else did you like? Who else do you model your wrestling style on?
Well, I definitely think I'm more of a mishmash of styles. I wouldn't necessarily put myself in any sort of category of specific style of wrestler because I think that you can be a little bit of everything at the same time or when the moment calls for it. I like a little bit of brawling. I like a little bit of technical wrestling and power moves and that sort of thing, and then also high flying as well, and even hardcore stuff as well. I try and multitask it, but in terms of that side of things, I think I would mostly say that my main influences were probably people like, as I said earlier, in terms of an in-ring and character perspective, Undertaker, Jeff Hardy, Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho, Triple H, and nowadays it's a lot of the modern stars of today, I think, really resonate with me. People like Cody Rhodes and stuff like that. I'm very much into all different styles of wrestling, and I think I can take little bits from all different characters and performers.
Okay.
But those were the ones who I liked.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that because you got a decent size. Because what height are you?
I'm around 6'2". I'm pretty well built in terms of height. I would like to lose a little bit of my pudge, but I'm starting to get better on that side of things as we go, and I want to tone down a little bit. It's just a work in progress kind of thing.
Do you work on weights or do you work on cardio or both?
Mostly cardio, but the majority of my training that I do these days is actually in the ring. So I think that gives me the most benefit because I'm working out, plus also I'm learning, teaching as well when we've got more inexperienced people in the classes, then also getting my cardio and fitness in and carrying guys and stuff like that. And my wife is starting to do wrestling training as well, so now she's starting to come into the industry, and we'll keep
Oh,
on training her. And if she feels like she wants to have a match, then I'll be right there ready to support her.
that'd be good, yeah. And earlier you sort of mentioned about booking, so I detected a bit of that. Is that something you want to go into later on to be a bit of a booker or a promoter?
I definitely think I've got a skill in terms of telling stories through both sides of my career, wrestling and magic. I definitely also think I've got a way of diplomatically dealing with people, even if I'm not best mates with them. I think I'm the kind of person who definitely prioritizes an audience experience over, keeping everyone happy necessarily in the back. Like I don't think that you should compromise, in every facet of professionalism, to benefit people who are just wanting it but not actually providing the same sort of care back.
Hmm.
Look, it would be something that I'd be interested in, but definitely not anytime soon. And It would mostly just depend on my schedule. And if I was a booker, I would want to be involved with the actual shows as they were happening, so that I can make sure everything's running according to plan. I don't want to take a backseat role so much. I would want to be right in the thick of it, and that would contradict.
Showrunner, producer type
Yeah,
thing.
that would
But it's like
contradict what comes
you
with
guys
magic.
wouldn't be. Sorry, I was just going to say you guys wouldn't be writing scripts per se. You'd be just giving bullet points, old school wise. Would that be right?
Yeah, well, for people like myself, we're sort of a bit more trusted to, go out there and tell the story that the people in control of the shows want us to tell. There are some times where they're a little bit more careful with how they want us to tell that story. In my case, I would say that, it's more of a bullet point kind of thing. I don't think anyone is heavily scripted in our walk of life here in Victoria, but I think that there are some people who definitely get less of an opportunity to flex their talking skills until they've done the training to do so. So
Hmm.
for me, I would say I get more of a bit more leniency, but I definitely want to convey the messages that the people who are running the show and paying for the show, and bringing the people in, I want them to know that I'm going to represent them properly. So if they've got any ideas on how they want me to present something, then they just tell me and I make it happen.
That's the best way to go.
Absolutely.
All right, so you're up against Pete Morgan,
Mhm.
Alpha Pro Wrestling. The tickets are about. Oh no, you're because of the matinee show. That's free
Yep.
entry.
It's free entry. Come and see it. I mean, look, at the very least, you're going to see someone get put through a table, whether it's me or Pete Morgan or both of us. Who knows? So that's something you want to see. Come and see it, and check out the beautiful Pipeworks Market as well. We've got a great venue there. They treat us very well, and we love them, and they love having us. So make sure you come and see it. Bring the family along. Bring some friends. What's to lose? It's going to be a great night of action in the evening, and it's going to be an even better time during the day because it's free.
Because no, Slade Mercer's not coming back till December 7th, is he? But
I'm not sure about his schedule, but I know
they
that
announced they
he's
announced a falls count anywhere in the building, which is what I thought you were challenging people. But I thought, no, you're not going to do two of the same
no,
gimmick.
no, we got something different planned for that. But I'm not sure about much of the night show stuff because, as I said, I'm not really available for many of them. But I definitely know that on the night shows you see some really great performers who you don't get to see during the daytime. During the
Yeah.
daytime, it's a lot more people who are coming up into the industry, and a few established names like myself. No matter what, it's going to be great fun watching wrestlers, do do their best out there and tell great stories. And I don't think anyone could have a bad time watching the show. It's just good family fun. It's really engaging, really athletic and impressive, and you
That's
get to
true.
boo and cheer people, and it's great. It's great fun. Have a laugh, enjoy yourself. Why not?
Yeah, because I do notice that you guys look to engage, like the bad guys look to antagonise the crowd, the good guys look to get cheers from the
Of
crowd.
course.
But with your tables, are they going to be the wooden trestle tables or the plastic ones?
I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see what's there. Regardless, we got to make sure that we're putting someone through the table if Pete Morgan accepts the challenge. I think he will, but who knows? At this
Because
point in time, I'm not sure. We'll see
because
what.
one guy did get put through a table at the last evening show, but that was through one of the polystyrene or the plastic ones.
Okay.
But I thought if you go to get wooden trestle tables, you do have the Bunnings across the road.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to wait and see what's available for us on the day and what Pete says, and then what the company is able to fork out in terms of the plastic ones or the wooden ones. I just want to see myself as a champion for the first time in my career. I think I've earned it. I think I deserve the opportunity to represent the company that I participate, in so much. I want to be involved in making it. The company, Alpha as a company, as great as it possibly can be, and representing it as a champion is really important to me. So that's something that I've been focused on ever since I came back and wrestled Emilio Crow on the first Energy show. It's my goal to now, hold that championship above my head and say, that I did it.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to that, and
Thank you.
so that's going to be good. That's November 9th. Starts at midday at the Pipework Markets.
That's
The
it.
matinee shows are free to get in.
Mm-hmm.
If you like what you see, you can always come back for the evening show that very night.
Absolutely.
Kids starts at $10.
Yeah.
Adults start at $15. It's a very, very good show at the Pipework Markets, which is basically on that little sort of court just behind Bunnings off Mahoney's Road in Thomastown here in Melbourne. Matty, it's been an absolute pleasure to see you. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
And if someone wants to book you for a magic show, how do they get hold of you?
Well, you can just look up ljmagician.com or you can just look up LJ Magician and you'll see my Google business page right there. Either that or you can find me on all social platforms that aren't Twitter at LJ Magician on them. And you can find out a little bit more about my magic side of things. And if you want to find out about my wrestling side of things, you can look me up on Facebook at Matty Wild. MATTYWILD. Yeah, that's how you can find me.
All right. Well, this has been If You See Kayfabe with your wrestling mate from down under, Southern Joe. Thank you to Matty Wild, and all the best, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.